Jordan, you were also part of the Japan trip. How many times had you been to Japan before that?
Just once.
Oh, just once. Okay.
But I was always infatuated with Japanese culture. But I was, I'll say now, I was very surprised at having been invited to Japan. Because I didn't have like a hardcore, well-known connection to Japan. So I'm still surprised that I was asked, and I frankly don't know. Unless you had the Macchio thing already in your back pocket, I don't know why I went to Japan.
Was it just the two segments? It was just toilet and
three. And there was the two fans.
You had a kaiseki meal.
The kaiseki meal,
Right.
the toilet, and then the two fans who you surprised.
Right.
Oh, right.
The married couple.
I talked to you about Japan because I was curious about your experience with it, and you mentioned the Karate Kid 2, and then it was. You loved it. You loved Japan because it was filmed in Okinawa and everything. And then I Googled the movie, and that's where I learned it was shot in Hawaii.
That's why the trip happened.
Yeah.
And that's why it happened.
That's
for that one
It
trip.
was just to catch you in one
I was
tiny...
like, oh my God, it was shot in Hawaii. And then we went about. But, you know, Ralph Macchio did not send that.
It was like the day before, maybe the day of.
We were going to bust you on it. And then I think it was Conan's idea to get Ralph Macchio to make the video, and it's like, oh, that's
of course
perfect,
so much better. And that video came in like 3 hours before the dinner.
Your entire fascination with Japan stems from the fact that you saw Karate Kid 2.
Yeah.
And that it was filmed in where?
Okinawa.
Okinawa. I have a message here for you. Please press play. And hold that out to the camera as you watch it.
Hi, Conan. It's me, Ralph Macchio. Listen, I'm sorry to interrupt. I just wanted to tell that Jordan guy that all the scenes in Karate Kid Part 2 that were supposed to be Japan were actually shot in Hawaii. Oh, and Jordan, those weren't real dinosaurs in Jurassic Park. Sayonara.
Conan, the whole time, understanding now that he knew he had that in his back pocket, I saw no hints that anything like that was coming. And he was patient enough. That was a long dinner. It was like an hour and a half.
Yeah. You were so aggressive with him in that dinner. I've never seen you go after him
and
like
he was
that.
taking it because he
knew he had
he had this.
Well, he was also getting you. We edited that. That was a long edit because he was getting you too, and there had to be we tried to keep it so it was a balance, so you weren't like, oh, Jordan's being too mean, or Conan's being. So it was kind of keeping it balanced up to that moment a little bit. I'm curious now that we're here. Why do you remember? Like, you were aggressively. Was it just your thought, like, oh, this is what people like?
You had to make it worth it.
It wasn't, honestly, it was not a deliberate choice.
Okay.
And it never is.
I was curious.
I guess my reactions happen organically.
Yeah, okay.
And that's one of the benefits. You guys don't like to tell me in advance. You like to tell me as little as possible. You know,
right.
Clearly for a trip like this, you have to let me know to pack a bag. But otherwise, if you have the option to just send a camera crew into my office, you'll take it.
Right.
And it may please you to know that I don't pre-plan how I'll behave.
Good. Well, you know what it goes back to when we were in Dallas.
Yeah, and you mentioned that.
And we went cowboy
because I mentioned that
shop.
Stetson was from New Jersey and all.
And you went off on a 10-minute thing on Stetsons.
I've traveled extensively across Texas.
I assumed you knew we were doing it and you prepared this stuff.
Oh.
You asked me multiple times.
But never.
I was being thorough.
Never recorded
there
on
were
audio.
there have been multiple times where I've been questioned by various writers on the show
yes.
about some of the things I say.
Yes.
Just about. I remember writers came to my office one day and they said, "Hey, we want to ask who writes your tweets." And I said, I write them.
Right.
I mean, I don't even write them. I
did
just
they want to
type
submit
them.
a packet?
No, and they did not believe that I didn't write. And then that was another situation where you came to me and said, "Oh, did you research that or whatever it was?" And no.
I just assumed. I was like, oh, we shouldn't tell Jordan where we're going because he's going to.
Yeah, I think even I think there was such success with I guess the coming in late one was the first ambush, if you'll use that term.
Of many.
That's your reaction? What's going on here? You just walk into your office?
Feels like an acceptable reaction to me.
And I guess the results were good enough that, and in that case, the ambush was justified.
That was a justified
It was the
ambush.
premise of the whole bit, but
Yeah.
I think that it worked.
Right.
And then the thought was, well, this worked. Let's not mess with it. But like if
Right.
the old ones on Late Night that Frank came up with,
Right.
There were the Italian dinner, and,
Right.
and just there was one during the writer's strike where I was fully aware of those, and those
Right.
did well too. So I'll still argue.
That's true.
I'll still
different
argue that
methods.
cluing me in advance doesn't necessarily hurt it, unless
Right.
the premise is such that
Right.
it depends on my ignorance.
Well, and I'm sure you started to smell out when, I mean, it wasn't just that you came in every day afraid that a remote might be
camera
I
crew's
was.
gonna bust
no,
in my
no,
door.
I
you
was.
were.
I absolutely was.
Would you come in
Okay.
camera like every day? You'd be like,
There's no camera ready for me, but at any moment, see the problem
There's
is
no camera
That's
ready because he's
terrible.
always
when
camera
you've
ready.
been when
well,
you've
that's
been
terrible.
ambushed.
I apologize.
When you've been ambushed a few times,
Yeah.
even if you don't get ambushed again, you don't
Yeah.
know that you're not going to get ambushed
Right.
again. So every time I was called down, to this day, every time I was called down to Conan's office for a legitimate reason, part of me expected to see a camera crew in there. And like,
Or you
a lot of-
you see me come by and just speak my
well,
oh, you're-
you were a big tip off, but like a lot of the things too was one of the excuses to get me in the office at a certain day and a certain time for one of these instances was that there was a fictional meeting. So I got an invite to a meeting about
Right,
something that had basis in maybe what I was working on at the time, and then it turned out to not be a meeting. So then, again, going forward, when I would get meeting requests that didn't sound completely justified, I was almost certain that this was just an excuse to get me.
But then
So
there are
was a
plenty
lot
of unjustified meetings that just happen.
I guess, yeah,
Yeah.
I guess so. That goes to show. But to this day,
Right.
because now we're not in the office on a regular schedule, this being the office,
Right.
we're not here on a regular schedule. So when I get called in for something,
Now
it
you're pretty
occurs
sure.
it occurs to me that there could be some
Shenanigans.
ulterior
Yeah.
motives. Yeah.
Is that a hard way to live your life?
It
I
sounds
mean, again,
terrible.
I didn't necessarily change anything about the way I would behave when I was on camera, so it wasn't a big deal in that respect. But sometimes you want to just sit and relax and know that you're not going to be exposed in that way.
The Machio thing was the first time I actually saw, like, I felt bad for you. Like his dream.
But I didn't feel that. I know that was the whole thing.
It looked
and,
like you
look
just
devastated.
You died.
Yeah, you look
that-
devastated.
That was inconsequential to me. The fact that and I made an error in the shooting location of a movie was inconsequential
right.
to me, at least from my own perspective.
Yeah.
It did not diminish my appreciation for the movie. It did not even diminish my desire to go to Japan because of what I saw in the movie, because I understand that movies are fake, and they were presenting something that may as well have been in Japan because it looked that way and
just
kind
the
of
idea
represented
of
the culture.
Japan.
That was, I know you guys, it worked comedically to have me devastated in that moment, but the reality is...
Because the venomous that he's talking about, like after you found out, after that happened, you were on the attack even more than I've ever seen.
I guess I was reacting to like the way the energy was going in the conversation. But again, it wasn't deliberate, and I wasn't actually upset.
Okay. Well, you were already traumatized from
It was
going
part
to
of me-
meetings every day
Yeah.
and waiting for
I see
crew to show
comedically
up.
why it worked, but part of my reaction was like, I can't believe he went to all this trouble
Right.
to get Ralph Macchio to record this message and present it. And after an hour and a half of sitting here, like. It takes restraint to have that there for an hour and a half and not like show it sooner, especially given the conversation.
Yeah.
It was masterful. He was playing the long
The
game.
long game.